Jordan Toy from Legacy Family Wealth joins us now for a full look into the day that was in markets. Jordan, thanks so much for your time today. Starting perhaps with how global markets have fared. We spoke about it a bit earlier on, but I want to get your thoughts around the rebound we're starting to see. What's fueling that momentum in particular? Is it sustainable? Are we at the beginning of a Santa Claus rally?
One would hope so. One would certainly hope so. I mean, historically, if you believe in those kind of things, December as a calendar month is generally a positive month, as you mentioned, the Santa rally there. As I said a bit earlier, I think what's key is this upcoming Fed decision, right? So we've gone from, call it 3-4 weeks, maybe a little bit longer ago, the probability of that Fed cut, at least from a market pricing perspective, was around 30%. And we're sitting at around near 90% today, or 85% odd. So market's very optimistic that there will be a rate cut. I think that we're sort of fluctuating around that at the moment. Obviously, I see cryptos or Bitcoin rather is rebounding a little bit today, but a little bit of nervousness came in earlier this week or yesterday in the crypto markets. But I think the Fed decision in the next week is key for where markets move, at least for the rest of December.
All right. So the Fed driving sentiment for most part of December. The conversation around the Fed is also shifting to who will be taking over Fed Chair Jerome Powell's spot. Any concerns on that front? Because, I mean, President Trump's pick will obviously be someone that shares his dovish stance when it comes to cutting rates.
Yes, certainly. So I definitely have some concerns. I think it's important to bear in mind that the chair, while sort of the head of the ultimate Federal Reserve and the committees that vote, is exactly that. It's a committee. It's not one individual that decides. And I think the current chairman, Jerome Powell's talked about this before, where he said, you know, if you are going to sway members in the committee, you need to have some pretty rational and data-driven arguments, right? No members of the voting committee are fools. These are all educated individuals.
Yeah.
But I do think, you know, as you asked there, I think it is a concern around independence because President Trump's made it very clear that he expects his pick for chairman to push through a rate cut. So I think from that perspective, it's always a concern. You know, central banks should always be independent of political parties because politicians tend to focus on the next election, whereas central bankers need to take a much longer view of where the economy is heading. So, yeah, I do have some concerns around that. We'll see. I've been saying to clients for quite some time now that my bet is on Kevin Hassett taking it.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if that proves to be correct in the coming weeks. We have no idea when President Trump's going to announce his decision. We know that he's made a decision, but hopefully I'll be proven correct in those conversations.
I mean, when do we know what his next move is? We just wake up and find a post on Truth Social, Jordan. All right, let's move over to what's playing out here at home. Local GDP figures out, softening to 0.5% in Q3, but of course in line with expectations. I have to ask you, do you think the improved sentiment will trickle down to, I guess, appetite when it comes to SA Inc. stocks?
Yes, I think it's incremental, right? So yes, it was a reasonable number that we had out today, as you mentioned, in line with the expectations or forecasts. I think it's one more data point moving in the right direction, right? So we know that it's the fourth consecutive GDP print we've had where economic activities increased. So that's the first positive. We've had the removal of grey listing. We've had an upgrade from S&P. So, you know, no one item is going to move us suddenly in a positive direction unless it's a really big surprise. But I think this is just one more data point, you know, moving us in the right direction, right? I mean, if we look at some of the areas, you specifically look at mining, which drove a lot of or was the biggest contributor to this number today. We had, obviously, PGMs contributing strongly to that. That's not necessarily sustainable. We know that commodities are quite cyclical. Hopefully, this current commodity cycle continues for quite some time. But chrome was also a contributor, and I definitely have concerns around that. I know you were talking about it a little bit earlier. You know, we have multiple chrome smelters closing, right? We have issues there. Glencore's been quite vocal about it. It obviously has knock-on impacts on employment and disposable income, etc. So whether chrome is going to continue to contribute as significantly, we'll have to see if we can solve this issue that we're having in terms of electricity pricing for these smelters. Some nice contributions from other areas, but yeah, I think in summary, it's one more sort of step along the road to actually moving in a positive direction and getting that momentum. We're just trying to build that momentum, really.
Yeah. Jordan, I have 20 seconds. What's your stock pick?
Oh, okay, I'll try and keep it brief. So I wanted to talk about Eli Lilly. It's one we've talked about before. I think two things worth mentioning today, right? So we had the World Health Organization recommending GLP-1s for the treatment of obesity, which is quite a big, I think, statement that now, you have this global health organization that is effectively saying that this type of drug, which Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk produce, is effective for the treatment of obesity. The second bit of newsworthy information is you had both Novo Nordisk and more recently now, I think in the past 24 hours or 48 hours, Eli Lilly cutting the prices of these GLP-1s, specifically the single dose vials. So the stock price, I think, dropped around 2% after that news. I want to actually see what comes out in the wash because, yes, you're selling, a lower price per unit, but can you sell more volume? Does it reach more people? Does it sort of expand that user base? I think that will be key. Of course, the goal for Eli Lilly's, the goal is to get people healthier. But I think from an economic perspective, to have more repeat customers and a wider customer base can definitely make an impact on the long term. So one to keep an eye on.
All right, I have to cut you off there. My director is going to kill me, Jordan. Thanks so much for your time and sharing your analysis with us this evening. That was Jordan Toy from Legacy Family Wealth.